Now, first, everybody is muted by default. So, and please do not unmute yourself throughout the sharing session. Please feel free to key in your question if you have any question. So we have prepared an app called AHA Slide. As you can see, there's a QR code on the slide. So please scan it so that you can post your question there. And we will prioritize to answer those most voted questions during the Q&A session. So if your question being posed by someone else, you can vote for the question by actually clicking the thumbs up sign. All right, so it's very simple to use. And during the Q&A session, you can raise your hand to speak to the speaker. Of course, you have to wait for the moderator or the speaker approval prior to unmuting yourself during the Q&A session. And please be reminded also, this session is being recorded for quality improvement purpose. So of course, last thing is we have prepared a mini contest for everybody to participate. The winner could walk away with 200 ringgit Malaysia in form of e-wallet from Touch and Go. So please, so for mini contest information, I would like everybody to stay until the end so that I can share the detail of this mini contest, how to participate and what are the terms and conditions. So then I'll share the detail with you guys. Now, allow me to briefly introduce our speaker for this webinar. So Mr. Ethan Soo. So he has been an agile trainer and also helping organization to transform using Scrum almost more than 15 years. Okay, of course, he also coach organization and also conduct training. So he has conducted 200 over sessions of agile training and also lead 30 plus agile transformation with the largest involving about 3,000 people. And currently he is Scrum Inc. Scrum Fellow, and there are not many in the whole world. It's actually less than 10 of them. So, and he's representing the Asia Pacific region, and he is a regional partner for Asia Pacific region. Okay, and his responsibility is to appraise, coach the certified trainer, and also conduct TDT classes for Scrum Inc. in Asia Pacific. So we are so honored to be his partner. So, and so without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for our webinar, Mr. Ethan Soo. Ethan, over to you.
Hello, thank you, Winston. I am Ethan. So I'm honored to be here. So let me open up my Slack deck, and then we can start sharing finally. This is me. Just came back to Malaysia after being about 12 years in the China market. So currently I am a Scrum Inc. Scrum Fellow and the Master Trainer for Scrum Inc. that trains certified trainer for all Asia Pacific. I'm also responsible to coach all the certified trainers in the region as well for Scrum and for skill up level Scrum. So I've been doing some consulting myself as well. For the previous years. Right. So to start the sharing, I see that there are about a quarter of people, about 21% that didn't know what Scrum is. So let me give you a few brief words about Scrum, and then we'll go towards how to be a better Scrum team and how to solve the skill up problem nowadays to ensure that everybody have a good implementation at the organizational level. So the Scrum and Agile exercise start in the early 90s. A lot of people actually didn't know that. A lot of people thought that, okay, it started at the 2001. That's actually before that. Around the 90s, right, there are big changes in terms of technology space, in terms of how the landscape is currently going towards. So that was a time where Intel, Microsoft, Dell, everybody in the Silicon Valley is expanding and fighting for markets. There's a lot of opportunity in there. And the problem around that time is that the way we collaborate, the way we work together, the way we run projects, the way we build teams and we build organizations is very traditional. Nowadays, we call that waterfall type project management. The problem of that is that it's not very efficient. So that was a time when a lot of experts in the industry are gathering together to look at some ways to make this better. The topic they are calling right now is called lightweight management process. So around the 90s, everybody's looking for a lighter weight management process so that we can be easier when we collaborate. And there was a time where something called Scrum coming out in the 90s, actually in the 93 to 95. It's a new way to work. It's a new way to work that accelerates humans' effort regarding of your work domain. So it's a very good management technique, a very good framework to help you build teams and make sure the teams do a good job and run it at a self-paced and very happy level. Now, with the invention of Scrum, right, the entire IT industry get a new way to work. What I want to point out right here is that it's not about the IT industry. It's about the people behind the IT industry that realize that they have a need to change at that time because of the exploding opportunity that's coming through their way. And when this thing progressed forward, we have something like in 2007, we have innovation like iPhones, mobiles, and everybody's going towards a new mobile space. And there's much more opportunities coming up as well. So all this innovation and change really drive these people forward and their organization forward to make them think that, okay, what's a better way to work together? What's a better way to collaborate? And that's why the Scrum framework got more and more popular, because it's a better way to work together and to structure our teams. Okay, till around the mid 2010s, right? These companies that can leverage this kind of new way to work actually become stronger and more powerful. And those that couldn't, they will find that themselves lagging innovation in all these spaces they are operating in. And all these big guys are starting to eat up their market share because of more innovations. Now, I went to a few banks in mainland China to do consulting and to do agile transformation and do training as well. And every time I say this, that these new companies with new innovation is going to suck up the space, people will cease to believe that we are the banks, we are entrenched, right? Who can affect our position? And then we see Apple launching a new credit cards like this, and you can do Apple Pay, right? And all sorts of new innovation. So how could we imagine in the 90s that someone that's going to make a cell phone is going to operate a credit card, it's going to operate gaming service and everything else? That proves that these people is using a new way to innovate. And then by doing this, they are more successful in their market space. And those that couldn't will just stay stagnant. We believe that Scrum is one of the most important elements to push everyone forward, to enable everyone to be successful. And it works in all domains. Now, a lot of people thought that Scrum is meant for IT. Even in Malaysia, we see that a lot of people that take Scrum training is from the IT region. It's actually not that. The creator of Scrum is Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schreiber. Now, Jeff Sutherland is my teacher. I learned quite a bit from him. And he always talk about Scrum operate in every single domain. It's just that you need to know how to see it and use it, right? In the webinar that Scrum Inc. Did earlier this month, we talk about Scrum in construction. Being how traditional and how waterfall, how planned things are in the construction industry, it's hard for someone to imagine that Scrum will operate in this space and help these people to be successful. And in the webinar, we talk about how this company, Drummond, is using Scrum to do the work. And the result is fantastic. The fastest drilling time the company previously had across all the while in history is 10 days. And now, after adopting Agile and Scrum, their drilling time becomes 6 days on average. Imagine how much cost this company has saved just because of that. And not just that, any impediments in the construction industry is by this company, they are resolved in hours and not weeks. Right? It used to be that, well, whenever we have a problem, we need to email someone, this email got bubbled up, and then my manager catch it. If he cannot resolve it, it goes to the director, and the director cannot solve it, it goes to another department head, and then discussion, and then things. Impediments are resolved in weeks, and trust me, sometimes in months as well. Ask yourself, right? When you have an impediment, you bubble up, how long will you get a decisive answer on how to move forward? And even oil and gas company in the construction space are resolving this thing in hours. And imagine how much efficiency you get that way. Okay, so for the amount of time that we have for these past 20 years of Agile and Scrum has become the dominant framework to help people to do better in their work. This entire initiative is called the Agile Initiative. In Agile, there are a lot of frameworks that you could use depending on your situations. And there are a lot of benefits like by using the Agile, like the ability to manage changing priorities in difficult times. For example, COVID-19. If you look at the training industry, like corporate training, everybody's hard hit by COVID-19. We see that for companies that is able to deal with the situation and change their priority, change their way of operations, they are able to even expand in this space. For example, LinkedIn. We see that a lot of people that's not prepared on this certain interruption get affected with their work. They can't hit their work plan, they can't hit their target everywhere. Not just the education industry, is everywhere, right? So being Agile and using Scrum to support your Agile give you a lot of benefits on uncertainties and all these difficult scenarios. So for all the newcomers to Scrum, I want to, this is point that I would like you to take away, is that Scrum is a new way to work. Is accelerate human efforts regardless of your work domain. Don't think that this is for IT. It's not. It's for the people behind the IT. They get it right away, so they change. And for all these traditional industry, for example, construction, servicing, finance, everything, they are coming up. They are coming up, especially in the US and in Europe. It's up to us to see that and put this put this framework to use in our own workspace to make sure that it works for us. And it's not that hard. As Agile coach, I can coach people that sells nasi lemak, that run mama store, to use Scrum to increase their revenue and decrease their cost, and make sure their people are happier as well, right? As Scrum is this demonstrate that kind of wide coverage, and you can use it almost everywhere that we can think of, right? So if you have Scrum, then you get more revenue, less cost, and happier people. And this is the main motivation of Jeff Sutherland, the creator. And this is the message he hopes that all these trainers like me, fellows, and regional partners will pass to everybody. For too long, Scrum hasn't been viewed as a framework that helps everybody to be successful. It's thought that it's only an IT thing, which is something that we don't agree on. Now, for all the newcomers, if you want to learn more about Scrum, you can go to YouTube and type in what is Scrum, like what I did here, and you have a number of answers. That's really good already. So I probably don't want to go through the framework, the methodology, and everything here. You can also talk to someone in InStep. They will probably guide you and give you some background information, how you can use it, in what area you can use it, and they probably could give you a free introduction of what this thing is. If you're new to this space, stop and think about this. If you want to have a framework that help your team, help your organization, start by looking into this. It's not that hard. This is Dr. Jeff Sutherland in the middle, and I am this guy that's standing to the left. This is where I get my certified trainer certificate that time in the Netherlands. So around the year of 2012, problems comes out. So Scrum has been transforming the world of work, and it's been helping a lot of people. Now, a lot of people is using Scrum. Even in Malaysia, I see that a third of the participants, Scrum Master and PO, right? That means that you guys are using Scrum. Otherwise, you won't have this role and title, right? The problem we see around the year of 2012, 2015, especially when Dr. Jeff Sutherland traveled around the world to go to different companies to look at the situation. Now, he is the creator of Scrum. A lot of people really would want his advice on what to do next and things like that. They have a lot of questions. And when he goes to all this company, he certainly realized that there are a lot of people that's using Scrum, but not many people is using Scrum to the maximum effectiveness or how it intended to be. A lot of people implement Scrum just by doing the ceremonies. They stand up to meet. They do a stand-up meeting every 15 minutes every day. They do stand-up meeting every day, 15 minutes, and they do all the ceremonies, the planning, and things like that. But the work result is not there. The work result is not there, and the company is not improving that much. So it's like, I'm doing Scrum, I'm doing Agile, and Jeff, you have been talking about Scrum in your book. The name of Jeff's book is called Scrum, Twice the Work in Half the Time, right? Why aren't we getting those things? Why are we pretty much like ourselves, usual, not much improvement, 10% efficiency improvement, 20% to Dr. Jeff Sutherland? If we are doing Scrum and we are using it for 3 months already, and if we are not doing twice the work in half the time, he thought that we must have done something not right, and we can adjust our way of implementing this. So take this as an advice. If you are new to Scrum and you start implementing it in your organization within 3 months, if you don't see any improvement at all, a significant improvement, right? Dr. Sutherland claims that it's twice the work, half the time, right? If you don't see that, or even less stringent of it, right? Significant improvement of work done, and people are happier, clearer, things like that, then perhaps the Scrum you are implementing it not the right way. Now, Dr. Jeff Sutherland further document that he sees a problem in why are a lot of companies not doing it the right way? Where's the problem? He sees several problems. The first and foremost problem he wants to point to everybody is that everybody that uses Scrum have a product backlog, right? Your team have a product backlog, otherwise you're not using Scrum, right? But the problem is not about the product backlog. The problem is what is in the product backlog. Now, if you see the graph right here, Jeff, or Dr. Jeff Sutherland, tabulate the figure and saying that about 25% of the stories they are doing, or the requirements they are doing, is what is really the green ones, the good ones, the ones that customer will use. The Scrum team are spending a lot of time to doing junk story and that work that the company is not, nobody's really using this. The company may even not be releasing this. This work may not be contributing anything towards the company goal, stuff like that. So a lot of people are doing, not doing the work they are intended is one of the big problems. Now, let's stop and think about this. The intention of Scrum is to have everybody doing good work, and everybody is using Scrum to be able to increase their revenue and decreasing costs. Now, for example, if I've seen people in a Mamak store, let's take that for an example, because every Malaysian goes to that, right? There are a lot of bosses that will tell their employees to do works again and again and again, just to fill up their time, just to occupy their time, without even thinking about whether this work is useful or not. So, for example, if I'm the Mamak store owner, I see an employee standing there with nothing to do, and I just tell him that, okay, you go and wash the dishes again. And then after he finished that, he said there's nothing to do anymore. He would do that. He would do something like that again and again. Now, those things is meant to be filling up the employees' time. It's not about helping this company to be successful. So if you are in the mama store, you think like that. If you are in the software industry, you think about creating features that you'll be releasing to your customers. Now, does the features that you create will be used by your customer? How sure are you about that? I used to work for Microsoft a long time ago. And that's a time I asked about the Microsoft Office team. I'm sure here everybody uses Microsoft Office, right? I asked about Excel. How many % of features you think you are using in Excel currently? How many %? And when I asked that, everybody laughed or everybody just become amazed. And at the end of it, I always get the answer, even from the Excel team in Microsoft, that people are using only about 10% of all the features in Excel. And yet they need to maintain all the existing features because this version of Excel must support all features that's supported by the previous version of Excel up to something like 2003, something like that. Even if the feature is obsolete, because you still need to open those old files, right? And all the effort that's incurred onto it, to maintain it, to renew it, to upgrade the new API is substantial. Those work perhaps can be used in a better way, the effort and time, right? So it is these kind of things that trigger Jeff to think about, okay, how can we focus the Scrum team to make sure that they head towards a green zone and not doing the orange zones item and dark zone items, right? This is first and foremost one of the big problems. The second bigger problem is that when we are doing Scrum, after we went through all the knowledge acquisition and training, right? We thought that we'll be well off. We can immediately start to run and fly. And after a while, a lot of people cannot do that because why? Because if you look at this slide, right? A Scrum team may be in a command and control kind of structure. So your company structure would be like the first one, the command, the traditional structure. And even when you have good Scrum teams, it's embedded into this work system of command control. So you're just a peanut in a system and you can't change things, right? No matter how good your Scrum team is. The most appropriate way for us to work in an organization is about teams of teams. This is how the best organization in the world works right now. The teams of teams where the developers or the team members, they will interact with the customers to understand what the customer really wants, design a customer experience that's best cater for the happiness of the customer, and release those features onto the market to attract more customers. And when the customer come in, use their product, get feedback, and tune their product accordingly. Now, this is the best way for everybody to create product, whether it's software, hardware, construction, whatever, services. The best way to create product is like this. The Chinese company, why are they suddenly rising to be so good? The Tencent, the Alibaba, the TikTok, right? And everybody, a lot of people in the US is worried about TikTok. Why are they rising up so fast? Are they smarter than the US people? Are they better than the US people? Are Chinese people superior? No, it's because all these newer organizations in China, that has less burden than the traditional company. And they are able to leverage new way of working like Scrum to position themselves to do better product creation. And they use the outside-in creation process I talk about. And this is why they have been winning, they have been gaining market share, and all those traditional companies, they have a lot of market share. They are not innovative enough, they're using the traditional way to work. They're slowly lagging behind, and their market share got eaten up by people, right? So this is the point where we have to ask, right? Are we up to the change or not? It used to be in the 90s that, oh, we don't need to change now. We're entrenched in the market. No one comes to our market. And here, at this point, you should realize that there are always new innovators coming up to eat your market. And the one that you are most afraid of is probably from people that you never heard about. It's not your number two in the industry, it's someone else, right? Like Apple creating a credit card, something like that, right? You should be worried about Apple. You should not, Master and Visa should not worry about like other like credit card guys if they are not innovating enough, right? So around the 2012, people asked about how we can be like that, how we can be like those people that really works, right? We are using Scrum, they are using Scrum. Why are we not arriving at that positions? Now, the second thing that Jeff documented is about this problem. Scaling from single team to multiple team to an organization. How should we do it? How should we create this organization so that we are supported, so that the Scrum framework can expand from one team to multiple teams, and then make our organization as efficient as possible. How to change the command and control system that we already have in our company step by step in a good way with minimum amount of transition pain to become better. And this is where a new framework comes out to solve the scaling problem. It's called Scrum at Scale. It's intended to solve the organization implementation that currently many of you are facing in your as a Scrum team members, PO, or Scrum Master. If you feel that your team is limited by the organization in a certain way, if you feel that your team is not collaborating with other teams in a certain way that make you efficient, if you feel that your department and other department in the company is not working together towards a common goal and stuff like that, Scrum at Scale could be the solution. In fact, Jeff Sutherland document 80 to 90% of the solution of the current Scrum team problems into the Scrum at Scale framework, so that it can transition to the networks of team that is required in the working space right now for better, more efficient organizations, right? So in Scrum at Scale framework, the knowledge, or we call solution, in the different perspective are documented and created and embedded in a framework that helps us. Now, the framework is separated into the Scrum Master cycle and the PO cycle. The true intention of Scrum is for the team and the business people, the POs, right, work together to create an effective system. It is not something that IT itself play among itself. We are just Scrum, we are doing a good job, and the business people, that's not relevant. It's not like that, because you can't create product like that, right? Right? And the intention of Scrum is not to make you just do your work faster. It's never that. It's to allow everybody to deliver more value with less work. Remember, less work and more value. It's not about being faster. So that should help your company to drive your revenue and cost, right? And in order to do that at the organizational level, all these perspectives have different requirement or slightly different requirement when you scale up to your organization. And this is what that has been missing in the industry for a long time. Especially all the other solutions, they are not created by the creator of Scrum itself. And hence, the creator of Scrum, after studying all the problems he has seen in the Scrum implementation all around the world and all the available framework in the industry, he decided that, okay, let me solve the problem myself by creating Scrum at Scale, right? So Dr. Jeff Sutherland then document the entire solution into two perspectives. The first perspective is the knowledge to build the right team. That's where you learn to be a Scrum Master, the product owners, and the team members. Now, why did he want to do that? Where there's a lot of training courses and good courses as well in the market to help you to be product owner and Scrum Masters. Why? This is because he thought that there are important elements of Scrum, like the lean process, like the TOC concept, those are not being propagated by other people. As a creator, he knows what's needed to build the right team. So he documented and revamped the team knowledge base again and write it into all these courses that he designed. Right. So if you learn about Scrum Masters, you learn about product owner, but your trainer doesn't tell you anything about the lean process, the TOC process, the value stream mapping, the Scrum patterns, very, very important Scrum patterns, the efficiency aspect, the underneath theory of Scrum. Why is it like that? Why do we have a daily Scrum meeting? Why? Where does it come from? Why do we have planning? Where did it come from? How do we execute it? Why do we have retrospective? What are the good way? What are the bad way? How to operate this? And what's the main goal of this? So if you have been through a course and you don't know the underneath logic of it, don't be worried. A lot of people in the world say the same thing. So that's why he documented this important thing into his class. And he documented the knowledge to build the right organization to scale up from single team to multiple team into the Scrum skill practitioner framework. And thus the course is coming in. And he really wants us to coach the good agile coach so that once you go into an organization to be an agile coach, you can safely say that you can lead an agile transformation without problem. He wants to do that, but he has no company then. So he has to create his own company, even when he's like 80 years old. He created this company not to make him getting wealthier, to be a wealthier 80 years old man. He created this organization, or he created this Scrum Inc. company to make sure the knowledge is propagated the right way, right? So the philosophy of learning Scrum and using Scrum, according to the owner, is that you become good by learning and practice, not by getting certificates. You don't get better by going to a 2-day class, get a certificate. No, you go to learn the knowledge, you go and practice it. Practice it, deliver a good team. And how do we know that you are building a good team? The key matrix that Jeff Sutherland is using, suggesting us to evaluate a good Scrum team or not, is not by the process. It's not by whether you are executing the ceremonies correctly or not. That's not how you evaluate. Whenever he comes into an environment and look at the Scrum team, he will look about 2 things. First, process efficiency, PE. By a lean process, it should be 25% or better. Right? If your PE is less than 25, he thinks that you are not a good Scrum team. And a lot of people feel very strange, right? We are Scrum team. Why are we not evaluated by our ceremony? This is not. The goal of the Scrum team is not by following a process. It's by leveraging this to create impact, to create good product that can make you more revenue and to lower your costs in your organizations. So making your process lean and efficient is one of the key indicators that Jeff will look at. And outside-in matrices, like the revenue, the cost, and things. A lot of people is going to ask, hey, we are just a Scrum team. We are in IT. How can we impact the revenue of the company and the cost of the company? Well, you can by contributing your part to create a good product and operating in more efficient way, like eliminating those dark story, junk story, and things like that. And when you need more help, because your company, in order for it to be better, it's not about just the IT, it's about marketing, about sales, about HR, about operation, and everybody. And if you want to link everybody together, use Scrum at scale. It's intended to link the organization better so that it's efficient. And then once you have done it, you'll notice that the productivity, the value delivery, the quality, and all these elements will improve. All right. So I hope you can feel the message here. All right. When you are using Scrum, you want to build a good team. And being a true Scrum You do not get evaluated by how good you are by your process following the ceremony and things like that, but by your outcome of using the process. For people that does not know Scrum yet, does not know what Agile is, look at this as an opportunity to help your team and your organization better. You can learn Scrum for free or for very low cost on YouTube or something like that. You can learn it in 5 minutes. But of course, Scrum is easy to learn, but it's hard to master, right? So learn the knowledge, use the knowledge to be a good team and to deliver a result of your good teams. That's step one. Step two, copy all the good practice from one good team to the other good teams, right? So if you build a very good Scrum team, let's say it's your marketing team, right? Copy all the approach that the marketing team is doing of the framework towards the other teams, the sales team, the operation team, the IT product creation team, things like that. So, and link up everybody into an efficient work system so that you will be a teams of teams that worries about the customers, worry about the customer experience. So when I was in mainland China about 10 years ago, I went to a bank, and there's all this teller sitting in front of you, and they ask you, what do you want to do? You queue up and you do your things, right? They give you a ticket so that you wait before you're getting your turn, right? So at this stage today, we are seeing the banks, they are targeting on customer experience. You go in there, the moment you walk into the bank store, you feel welcome. You have a pleasant environment. You have a very good space for you to wait. You no longer feel that you're lining up as a queue. That's very simple, right? So focusing on delivering product that target customer experience. Design this thing from outside in and use the Scrum framework to support you that way. And that will surely makes you win over someone that's not changing, that's giving you a long line of teller waiting, making all the customer wait in line, and everybody's painful. The customer will choose to go to the better business that's innovate and change, right? So with that, I hope that I have give you some knowledge for you to start out your exploration. I think this webinar is not intended to give you all-inclusive information that you need to have 1 week to swallow. No, but some important key concept of how you can use the modern management technique that's lightweight, that focus on delivering impact and outcome, and making everybody happy in the process. You can leverage that, right? No matter you are at the team level or the organization level. And that by that, I want to conclude my sharing today. And I have some questions for me to answer as well. And for all the audiences, if you are interested to be a CST, Certified Scrum Trainers, if you are interested to learn to be a Certified Scrum Coach, you can contact me. I am responsible for this program in the Asia Pacific, from China to Australia and westward to India and Bangladesh. That would be my coverage area. I will coach you. I will mentor you on your journey to be an Agile coach and to be a trainer. And I'll try to help you the best way possible. Just contact me via LinkedIn or via Insta. I'll be happy to talk to you about. All right. So with this, I want to pass this back to the moderator, and I want to know if this is a time to answer questions or what. I'll let you control the flow. Vincent.
All right. Thank you, Ethan, for your great sharing. So now this is a Q&A time. So we have a number of questions in our AHA slide. So Ethan, would you like to go through the question, or I'll read it out for you?
It's better for you to read out for me.
All right. Now the most voted question, I will go by that. Okay. First, What are the biggest challenges of Scrum implementation in terms of communication, reporting structure, process flow, and etc.?
The most important problem now, there are a lot of perspective in this, right? If you are the beginners, the most important problem for a beginners is that Scrum define the minimum set of items that you need to do to get your lightweight management process up and running. Now, the Scrum guide is only about 20 pages and less. It defines very few items that you absolutely needed to do, and it expect you to learn of it, practice it, and solve the problem yourself. There are not much help as in the playbook and best experience and things like that. For the beginners, a lot of people felt that they are left like, okay, now, all right, I've read through 20 pages, so how do I get started? Problems like this. And the lack of experience and definition of best practice is also other key problem to prevent a beginner's team to be as effectively as possible. When you go to the moderate level, if you have been using Scrum for 1 or 2 years and you have been getting efficiency boosts, something like 50%, 80%, and things like that, the challenge would start to be, how can you change more of your work items with the business, with the stakeholders? How can you start to align the organizations to work with you? Because you know that you're good, you know that you are like getting 30%, 50%, 80% efficiency boost already. Now, how do you bring in other people? And that's when Scrum and skill come in to solve the problem. For experts, I have been doing Scrum for 5 or 10 years already. I am a certified trainer. I see certified trainers in Intel Penang. I see in other places as well. Now, to those experts, certified trainers, right, the most important question to answer is that how do you then further align these organizations to tune it to create more impact in the world by helping it to generate more revenue and less work, and less cost, right? So you'll be solving those high-level problems one by one. So when different people have different perspective, it's hard to say one lump common things that everybody will be true. I try to give you some typical ones for beginners, moderates, and experts. Yes, Winston.
All right, let's go for the second question. Can we say Scrum methodology is a method work with team of professionals from product owners, Scrum Master, Scrum team members, interdependently, meaning that it's focused on fast-paced change?
Yes, Scrum is definitely optimized and prepare you for fast-paced change. For example, COVID-19 would be one of the situation, right? So if you have Scrum, you are catered for that change. Is it solely for that? No. It's one of the things that Scrum gave you. So it depends on how you phrase your question, right? The main goal of Scrum is more revenue, less work, happier people, right? And the most important thing is to be able to do it and extend it to the entire organization. That's why the Scrum framework and the Scrum and Skill framework is intended to do. So stop focusing on the process alone. That's for beginners. If you are beginners, you focus on the process because you don't know what to do. If you want, for example, if you're a swimmer or you play badminton, if you're a beginner, you focus on the basic technique, right? If you're expert badminton player, you focus on how to win game and beat your competitors, right? It's different level of things. So remember, when you're doing Scrum, it's not about the basic process and technique alone. It's about using it to get more market share, to compete, right? All right, Vincent, next question.
All right, yeah, next question. Very interesting question. The title saying, building happy and productive Scrum team. How do you measure happiness? Is that even important? Hold on, is that even important? Don't we need to focus on results?
Very, very good question. I think it's very important to measure the happiness of the team. Now, by the creator Jeff Sutherland, right? When he created the framework, it is to enable sustainable work environment that create a revenue and less cost, right? And being sustainable means that your people have to be able to continuously work that way. If your implementation is after Scrum is that everybody OT for 20 hours every week, you have more revenue perhaps. You have more costs also, but you certainly have unhappy people. And with unhappy people, you have less tendency for innovation, for good work. You just want to go home, right? So being able to create this sustainable environment to help to have happier employees is important. Now, a lot of people think that if I want my employee to be happy, I pay them more. I give bonus, I use allowance. Let me tell you that in the world of Scrum, we see those approach as one-time boost. It will lose its efficiency within one or two. Once you give someone promotion, raise the salary, he's happy for one or 2 months. And then you go back to the situation, right, previously. The right way to create happiness is to create a collaborative work environment that encourages employee satisfaction. And to create employee satisfaction, there are a lot of things. They have to know what they are doing. They have to know what they're doing matters. They have to work with the people alongside them and be happy working with them, right? Things like that. So Scrum is able to build that accent of things that cultivates a long-term benefit of job satisfactions and employee happiness, and not the one-time boost like giving them an increment.
All right, thank you for the answer. And next, wow, this is a problem, okay? The problem for us is the commitment for all project members. You want to have project charter and so on. Resource management is our problem now. One person can involve in how many Scrum projects?
Well, one person can involve in how many Scrum projects. Now, once you have become more and more agile, the external projects start to weaken. You think more of the product and less of the project. But let me answer your question directly first. Being involved in how many projects really doesn't matter. What it matters is that a Scrum team should have a definite product backlog, that each work list that's prioritized and ordered. It doesn't matter this work list consists of items from how many projects. It really doesn't matter. It matters that it's prioritized order, so the team will work on them one by one and in a good way. Now, with that said, I want to encourage you to decrease the work in progress, as in the project in progress as well. Why is that? Because if you divide your resources into several projects, you easily see that you cannot do well in all of them. You can do okay in all of them. And if you focus more resource into one project and then after one project and then after one project, you tend to encourage your project people to be able to do a better job in a single project and move on to the next project. And you get A's in all of them. Now, the timeline, a lot of people will feel that, oh, it's longer because if I do concurrently in all this project, I get finished earlier, faster. It's actually not true. It's not true by Jeff Sutherland's study on context switching. Context switching. When you context switch from one to another, you lose efficiency along the way. When you open up your development environment for project A, you do all the development, and then you open up project B, you need to store everything on project A and context switch. You lose efficiency. And you also lose the working context. So think of it this way. Although Scrum says that it's really not important how many projects you're having, as long as in the backlog, prioritize in order, do take a note that you should be more focused. Vincent.
All right, so next question. We are overwhelmed by multiple projects running at the same time. What's your take on this? How to be good in multitasking?
So so it's like an extension of the last question, right? The advice would be solve it by the root cause. That's to create organizational focus. Now, the reason that Scrum at scale have a PO organization and structure multiple project stakeholders into the same project organization and let them collaborate is to solve and eliminate this problem. So if you are asking this question just to find tips and tricks to let you better handle multiple projects, yes, you can do that. But that's not the way I encourage you to go. I encourage you to go and look at Scrum at scale and look at how we can create a linkage between all the stakeholders so that there will be more focus and solve the root cause that way. So you won't be overwhelmed by multiple projects because it doesn't come your way. Vincent?
Okay, next question. How do we measure process efficiency?
You can search online. You can search online about process efficiency or process cycle efficiency. It's a lean concept that's really important. Now, to be fair, a lot of Scrum courses doesn't teach this, and hence Jeff need to create his course to teach this because this is really important. Okay, I probably don't want to give you all the calculation mathematics there. Just search in Google process efficiency or process cycle efficiency. Then you know more, right?
All right. So next question. Recently, I heard about Microsoft Teams. In your slide, team of teams. Is Scrum incorporating it or part of it?
Well, team of teams is a way of saying multiple teams that work together.
Right? It's nothing to do with Microsoft Teams,
it's
right?
It's not about software. It's about
all right.
A lot of people call it Scrum of Scrum teams, things like that, right? It's a more generic way to say multiple teams that's working together in a work system.
All right. Okay. So next question. How do you solve team members with low attitude and doesn't keen to contribute and participate much, always stays silent and feedback at the back?
Now, if you have situation like this, we always try to take a look at ourselves. Is it our fault that created this situation? Why does someone arrive at this situation, right? So a lot of people will face a situation like that. Now, when I led a transformation for Bank of China headquarters Beijing, the Bank of China Beijing is using a lot of outsourcing team. That means they acquire resource from outsourcing company. They are not even the Bank of China people. And in China, it's very different. They treat the outsourced people and they treat their employees substantially different. Why? For example, the outsourced people cannot go into the canteen to eat until all the employees, several thousand of them, finish their lunch. So you are the next batch and other people all pick their items, eat, and then you eat the remains, right? They have things like this that treat the outsourced really strange like this, right? So they are demotivated, of course, right? A lot of things can demotivate your employee, and you probably want to look at your own element first. It's not just about Scrum, it's about other people. And once you have this already, then the Scrum Master should actively do his work to talk to this resource, to this person. Now, if the person can be facilitated, encouraged, and everything is fine, that would be good. If someone cannot be led out the forest, he need to stay into that situation, he's depressed, whatever, you have to consider other technique like switching him to a more traditional team that can accept his behavior and stuff like that, right? So in conclusion, first, don't look at the Scrum system first. Look at your entire company and how you're dealing with people. Does it affect the moral of people? Does it discourage them and things like that? Then only look at the Scrum system. When you look at the Scrum system, use your Scrum Master, allow your Scrum Master to do the work. And if you cannot, then consider other techniques. All right, Vincent?
All right, next question. How do you solve conflict with not cooperative members with Scrum?
You see that all the time as well, especially when people don't understand the Scrum framework, why we are doing this way. We see this earlier in the years like around 2005, 2006, 2008. Those are the time that's more usual. Here, because the awareness of Agile and Scrum has risen so much better. So many people will think that, okay, I am Agile, I'm doing Agile, is a good thing for me, I'll be more focused, I'll be better, I'll be happier. So they probably would not resist it. But if there's really conflicting members, that's the time that you want to think about your communication skill, your facilitation skill, the conflict resolution technique. This is not included in Scrum, but it's expected to be performed by certain roles like the Scrum Master, to be able to deal with conflict resolution. And I'm sure Instead Learning have a lot of soft skill things to help you solve these conflict problems.
All right. We still have one more question, but prior to that, we actually have prepared 15 minutes time. So where Ethan is available to answer any question, please raise your hand. So if we would like to speak to Ethan. So, and before we actually proceed, all right? So now we go for the last question. Yeah, there's another one coming in. Okay. What is the pros and cons in using Scrum?
The pros and cons of using Scrum now. I talked quite a bit about the pros already, right? Like better revenue and less cost and happier people, right? These are the three things that you probably want to keep in mind for Scrum. And the second tier would be all the supporting thing, like you're able to release your product to the market faster. You'll be able to manage changing priorities. You'll be able to align with the stakeholder better and things like that, right? So the cons, I asked about this question to the creator, Jeff Sutherland, as well. What do you think about the cons of the Scrum is? And he can't say a word. He can't say a word. So with he not being able to say a word about the cons of Scrum, because he's not trying to hide information or something like that, he just can't think of any. So from my perspective, for Scrum, it takes time to learn and implement. It is a change to your work system. So a lot of people that is not aware of it will be resisting to it. For example, one of the Scrum ceremonies would be that you need to do a good planning at the beginning of your work cycle, and you have to do a show and tell at the end of your work cycle. A lot of people will not be used to, hey, why do we need to do planning? Why do we need to show and tell? There's so many meetings in between, right? I'm not used to it. So it will be a abrupt change to the work system. Now, to counter that, right, if you have good Scrum education, if you have taken a formal course by good trainers, you should be able to know why are those things exist, the under logic of things. All the elements in Scrum are generated because Jeff, in his earlier years, went to this very good company like Boland. What's the best Boland team about? The best Boland team is about the sync up of information. And they do it this way, do it in an hour. And Jeff modified to become 15 minutes. That's why we have daily Scrum meetings. So all the things in the Scrum, they are best practice when he went to different companies or organizations. Now, if you have good education, you know that, you know the underlying logic, then you won't be going off track and things like that. Okay, Vincent?
Okay. We take the last question from the AHA slide. So before we proceed with the 15 minutes, okay, so speak to the expert. Now, last question is, how do you work with a difficult product owner?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question again? Can you please repeat your question again?
All right. Yeah, sure, no problem. How do you work with a difficult product owner?
Well, there are always difficult product owner, and I have when I went to SecTE to lead the transformation that lasted about 2.5 years. The first thing I have experienced was a product owner coming in, the soon-to-be product owner person coming into the room without even knowing my name, without even giving me a chance to introduce who am I. He used his notepad to slam the table. And he told me, don't touch my team. Right? So this is the product owner that I met before, right? So you use your soft skill to work with the product owners. You explain to the product owner that the Scrum system is intended to help the product owners, not to counter and make the product owner ineffective. The goal of Scrum is to create better product and thus increasing revenue, right? So with better product, it comes from the stakeholder and the POs, and we are aligning the team to help them. And once they get it, right, they will eventually open up their territory and work with you. The problem of a lot of Scrum teams is that they are not able to communicate this information across, and the business and the stakeholder would feel that this guy are wasting my time. My time would be better going to the business meeting with this Dato or this business meeting with this finance minister. Why am I want to talk to you, right? You're wasting my time. But as soon as you know that, okay, even all the great ideas he's got after talking to the Dato and the finance minister, right? You still need a team to implement it. You still need to articulate your vision better and write it into a clear work backlog and communicate with the team so that the team then can do it. Once they know this, there's a process, right? They will start to work with you because they know that you're bringing your commitment to helping him to be successful. And that's the key to work with product owners and obtain business engagement. Yes, Vincent.
Yep. So we still have one more question. In the AHA slide. So the question is, as a Scrum runs in multiple iteration basis, how do we estimate project budget and obtain managerial approval in the initiation stage of project?
Okay, very typical question. This is actually not covered by Scrum and Scrum at Scale. Right. But there are two ways I'll share with my experience. So there's two ways to do it. The fully agile way and the semi-agile way. The semi-agile way is to use your existing process and communicate with your stakeholders about the way you're working right now. The team is working, the project is working. And you ask the stakeholder, what can they do in their process, like the budget approval process, to help you to better achieve your goal. And then you create something that you mutually agree on. Now, this is different from company to company. For example, when I do consulting and agile transformation at MasterCard have totally different approval process than ZTE and then Bank of China, right? So you have to deal with people and work with that. Okay, the fully agile way, the second way, the best way, and the most difficult way, perhaps not many people are ready for it, is to use agile budgeting. Go online, go on YouTube and search about agile budgeting. Once you have reached that level, you have agile budgeting, you have agile HR, you have agile marketing. Every single different department will align to the agile vision and work in the agile way as you work as if you're working in a Scrum team, right? So try the first one, the semi-agile one first, and if you are in the agile leading space, then you can take a look at the total change. Yes, Vincent.
All right, thank you, Eden. So we will take further question in our next session, the next 15 minutes. So let me share with you some other information first, and Eden take a break first, okay? And we'll come back later. All right. Yes, I believe some of you have done the feedback form, and yep. So please feel free to raise your hand and speak to Eden. So you have any question and yes, not being answered during the Q&A session. And the good news is, if let's say you would like to invite Eden to your organization to meet your Scrum team and of course give some advice. So yes, you can do so. You can contact us. We will do the arrangement.
All right, I'm all set to answer questions. So anyone want to tell me about your particular situation, please do so, and I'll try to give you an answer as best as I could. Question calling, anyone? If no question, I'll just happily go off to an early lunch.
Yep. If no more question, as I mentioned, yeah, you can contact us to arrange a private meeting with Eden. Yep. So then call us and we leave our contact in the chat area. Okay, I see there is one more question. Let me see.
Is it able to have the one that asks the person that asks question come forward and speak directly to the camera? Is it possible?
Yeah.
Not that you have to do that. Okay.
All right. So yes, we have someone raise hand and.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. If you can open your camera, and I'll be happy to speak with you if you can.
My camera isn't working.
All right.
No problem. Please go ahead. Yes, please go ahead and unmute and share your questions.
Yeah. So good morning. My name is Suhanya. So my question is, I'm from an academic background. I'd like to see how I can actually use the Scrum and Agile method in research and development, especially for academics.
Okay.
How would it be different from using it in IT or other industrial team, and how would it be different in using it in a academic team?
Yes, Scrum Inc. is working with the academic space to have Scrum help in the university and higher education, and has also worked with the more grassroots level of education as well. So at the higher level, is working with MIT and Harvard and helping the Harvard professor to revamp their teaching system based on Scrum and Agile. Now, this is not to teach about the knowledge, but to use the knowledge to create an impact in the university of doing so. So there are a lot of departments in the university. Depends on which one that you're talking about. If you're talking about the teaching, if you're talking about the content creation, you're talking about the classes arrangement and stuff like that. So it's probably is not, we probably can't give you a one-off answer here very briefly, but take a note that for higher education, Scrum is working with institutions like Harvard, MIT of doing so. At the more grassroots level, is working with a company called EduScrum in Netherlands to pilot educating K-12 students to use Scrum to learn, not to learn Scrum, but use Scrum to learn, to manage their learning process. They're using Scrum, and actually we have a webinar just about a week ago about that. If you're interested, give me your contact. I'll forward you the EduScrum webinar link. I think you should be able to get the replay. What they do is to define the what the teacher will design the what for the students, that what should they be learning in this session or in this course or something like that. And when the students come into the classroom, they will define the how to learn it. It used to be that the teacher would define the what and how, everything. The student would be just sitting there and listening in, right? And that's the engagement and interaction would be very few. So with Agile and Scrum, we really want to encourage individual interactions over processes and tools. So the way to do it is to let them manage the how. So today you should be able to learn these few words or these few science things. How would you like to do it? These are the options. How would you like to do it and things like that. So if you are interested in those K-12, like look at the Edu Scrum space, and they are solving the problem, and is getting a lot of good result in the Netherlands, in the UK, and in the US as well, I think, right? So yeah, if you have a chance, let's speak more. I think someone from Scrumming is also interested to work with the academic space as well. So we should be, if you have an idea on how we can better help you, let us know. When I was teaching classes in the US called Teaching with Jeff Sutherland, there are a team of like 7 people, professors, head of recruitment, and a few, right, marketing directors coming into the class as well to learn about Scrum, to get the certificate for being a product owners. And it's so popular there over in the United States right now in the educational space. Okay, that's about as much information I can give you in this like a few minute session. So if you have a chance, I appreciate to talk to you more. Please tell me more of your environment. Show me how you're teaching your students at the academic space. I'll be happy to explore opportunity or possibility with you. Currently, I work as the regional partner for Scrumming Asia Pacific, and besides training all the certified trainers in these regions, I'm also designing classes to help in the different spaces like academic, construction, and things like that. Okay, Vincent, back to you.
All right. So, any more question?
So, Hanya, does that answer your question? Do you have anything to add on top to your questions?
No, Ethan, but yes, I'd like to speak more about this to you. But well, actually, my question was more towards like, students. We moderate a lot of students who are doing their masters and PhD. So I was thinking more of that environment. But your answer was quite insightful in the sense that I never actually thought of using Scrum for the classroom, which is actually it's like eye-opening. So it gave me some other insight. So
yeah,
helpful. Thanks.
The part that you are asking is very easy and natural because to Scrum is just another project that you want to manage. For example, every year's intake, right? And year's intake, every year's the progress of the master students, right? You can then use the Scrum framework to build your team and have that using that to manage the process as well. That would be very easy.
Yeah. The one difference I see is that in research and development, there's a lot of trial and error. So sometimes it's quite hard to actually plan out long term on what the work path is going to be. Especially, let's say if my cycle for one sprint is 3 weeks, there might be a lot of changes that you have to do. You might have to like still make changes. So that's one main I think difference I see in terms of in R&D.
Yes, by Agile and Scrum, we are always up for change. We always know that interruption will be coming, and we always encourage the Scrum team to treat it as in the interruption will be coming the next minute, all the time. So the best way to handle this is to build our capability to handle those change and not to resist those change. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Ethan. That was very insightful.
Thank you, Suhaya. Vincent?
All right. So, any more question? If no, then we would like to, on behalf of InStep Learning, we'd like to thank everybody for your participation.